Come on, brother. You got gasoline running through them veins.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Movie Review. This time we are looking at Silo Killer 2, The Wrath of Kyle. This is a 2009 film, not rated, runs about an hour and 20 minutes, directed by Bill Koning, written by Bill Koning and Brian Reid. Now, Brian Reid also stars in the film and is playing the brother of the character he had in the first Silo Killer film. Now, this movie's actually very hard to review for multiple reasons, but the primary one being it's kind of hard to describe the film without giving away important parts of the film, and not in the way that usually annoys me. This one has buckets and buckets of blood, and it was done for a specific reason, not just to be graphic with the blood, I don't think. It adds to the comedic value and the over-the-top nature of the film. Now, when you come across some movies, when you watch more out-there films, especially in the no-budget realm or the low-budget realm, you come across some movies that are a bit weird and esoteric that are kind of hard to describe. Normies will think of like The Seventh Seal, which was not necessarily a low-budget film, but it's very artsy, it's black and white, it's got these metaphors and symbolism all over it, and oh, death is in there, oh, it's so deep and intellectual. No, it's not. But that's the type of thing people will think of when you say esoteric. But The Seventh Seal is not what I would call esoteric, because I like B movies. I would call Six String Samurai esoteric. And this movie is a lot more like Six String Samurai if it had a bunch of hydraulic blood flow. It's definitely got that kind of weirdness to it, but it also has the sense of humor of a 14-year-old trauma fan. And it all comes together to create Silo Killer 2. So this movie picks up sometime after the first one, and we get sort of a Greek chorus in the sense of we have Dutch and Del Rey. Del Rey is a special needs guy who is routinely abused and shot several times, various points in the film. And they sort of are breaking the fourth wall, telling us the setup of what's going on and things like that. The movie opens on a lover's lane, and we get this college student who wants his girlfriend to wear a pin that says no fat chicks, and she's going to give him some reward. Gotta be careful what I say on the internet. But instead we get an instant kill. Now, the opening credits have not begun. By the time the opening credits are finished, we have a body count of 13. The Silo Killer and the convict are just going to town. Now, Scott Alden has returned as the convict, and Carter Hagerman has returned as the Silo Killer actor. So we do get a lot of familiar faces from the first movie in here to reprise their roles or to play new characters. Brian Reid not only plays the character Kyle in this film, which is brother of Lyle, but also one of the co-writers for both films. So there are a lot of people that kind of come back to play various roles. Brian Reid's wife is in the film as one of the victims. I think they called in every favor they had to get people in here, but a lot of them are playing multiple roles. So Dutch introduces us to the bounty hunter Kyle and the white knight ninja of sorts, who is his sidekick, who's not a real ninja, he's just sort of a ninja. He's also kind of a raging coward, and he has ninja sense, which tells him all sorts of accurate things that Kyle will screw up. We do get a dog humping a person's unconscious body too, so that's a thing that happens in here as well. Well, Kyle ends up being hired by the town mayor to capture the escaped convict, and although he does bring the convict in, it's not necessarily how you would think it would go. Instead, somebody else kind of drops the convict, and it is pretty funny actually. Well, eventually the Silo Killer is also apprehended, and both are put on a work detail for some reason, and they end up having a super killer team up, and the Silo Killer and the convict do manage to escape. For some reason, the Silo Killer wears two masks, so now they're both Silo Killer masked psychopaths, and we never see the Silo Killer's face because he's allowed to keep his mask in jail for some reason. And then, predictably, predictably, you're thinking, well, the movie's going to drag a little bit in the middle. No, it's not. Because it turns out that Kyle and his sidekick, the White Knight Ninja of sorts, have rivals in the form of Oxen and Injun Joe. They're hunting Kyle and the White Knight for an undisclosed crime that you don't learn what that is until the very end of the film, and it's kind of gross. But the movie gets really, really convoluted really quickly. And they do not screw around with the fact that this is very tongue-in-cheek, silly, over-the-top film. And Kyle is a psychopath on a rampage who will kill anybody in his way, no matter what they did. And that kind of works because he's fighting a bunch of other people that are doing pretty much the same thing. I did find it funny that the loincloth that Injun Joe is wearing is a Charlie Brown looking t-shirt, so that really kind of added to it for me. And he's wearing like these big underwear for some reason. He doesn't have a shirt on. He's just running around with his hair all over the place. So Kyle's out for revenge at some point because it turned out the Silo Killer killed his brother Lyle, which happened in the first movie, and he's out for revenging. But during all of this, there is a horde of zombies that show up for no apparent reason. Like, they kind of alluded that that might happen, but you thought it was a joke. But no, there's a ton of zombies in this film, and it's never explained where the zombies came from, why they're out there, and it doesn't matter. You just go with it. This is a very, very weird film. Also, you can see the boom mic in the bottom right-hand corner around the 52-minute, 57-second mark. So just throwing that one out there. Ha! Now, I can't really describe much else. There's a weird team-up that happens. There's a illuminated shaft fight, and the jokes just keep on coming. There's lots of jokes about slutty women and people with mental disabilities, questioning other people's sexualities. Pretty much any offensive thing that they could have thrown in a movie in 2009. The only thing this movie really lacked was nudity from women, not the shirtless heavyset guy, thank you. Now, despite the fact that there is not enough beautiful naked ladies in this, I am going to look the other way on that because the movie was really, really crazy. It was non-stop gunplay and blood. And yeah, you could tell they were recycling actors occasionally, and they said a lot of vulgar things, but that was all part of the weird vibe they were going for in here. Now, obviously, a lot of modern audiences are incredibly sensitive about terms that they hear and the language used in certain ways that are not so much kosher anymore. But I have to say, this movie wouldn't be for you anyway. You're probably going to be offended by most of the dialogue and a lot of the things that happen in the film. So if you're a sensitive-natured person who doesn't like hearing slurs in movies or derogatory names for special needs people, this movie wouldn't be for you. However, I am absolutely going to recommend this. This is just such a weird, crazy film. I had a blast watching it. It is just completely insane, and it's at least as good as the original, but in a different way. While Silo Killer was more of a horror movie with some comedic elements, and the guy with the awesome shirts, because that guy was a legend, this film went in the opposite direction and went full-on crazy mode with a little bit of slasher horror in there. There are some really good camera angles, great cinematography all around, some really witty dialogue. It's really well written, and the appearances that they have, especially near the end, that make pretty much no sense at all seem to actually come together and work for the film, because it is such a strange artifact of cinema. I don't know why this movie is not more popular with the B-movie and cult classic crowd. It is an overlooked gem, hiding it behind the offensive nature of the crybabies and whiners out there, because this is right up there with Six String Samurai as far as I'm concerned for general weirdness and just fun filmmaking. They don't really make movies like this anymore. And when they do, they're these hidden gems out there that you kind of have to search for. And yes, it takes a particular type of person to enjoy this film, but you can't be very sensitive. You can't be opposed to seeing a lot of gore and blood. And although there is a lot of blood, there's not like the over-the-top pulling guts out stuff that you get from like Terrifier and Waxwork 2. It's obviously over the top for a reason here, and it strangely works. So I'm going to recommend this, but it's definitely for a limited audience. If you're looking for a new cult classic that is probably going to offend every friend you have, this is going to be it. Also, I have to say the acting was actually pretty solid. They all did a pretty good job. They were obviously having fun with this. Brian Reid reminded me a lot of Will Sasso from Mad TV with his facial expressions and the way he delivered lines. Brian Buckingham as the mayor was fun. The guy that played the sheriff did a really good job. Brendan Thomson. David Hayes as Injun Joe was funny, even though he really needed to put a shirt on. Kevin Moyers was funny. Chad Campbell was great as the White Knight Ninja of sorts. Kevin Moyers as the Oxen was fun. I think everybody did a really, really good job. I could name every member of the cast, and I would say that they did pretty stellar work on this. A shocking amount of really, really fun B-movie acting, and people that were just having a good time making a movie from the look of it. I got this in a DVD 2-pack with the original Silo Killer. My copy of Silo Killer that I originally purchased was in a multi-pack, and it was really low res, and I bought it on DVD a while later individually, but this one has a better quality copy for some reason than both the others. So I'd recommend getting the 2-pack. I got it on Amazon, and it's got cast and crew interviews, some outtakes from the first movie, and audio commentary from the second movie, as well as cast and crew interviews. So if you're just looking for one of the weirdest movies you can find, I think this one ranks up there. It does make a sort of linear sense, but everybody in this movie is a psychotic who enjoys killing people, and it's so over the top goofy that it actually works for the film in its favor. And since I took such a long hiatus from reviewing movies, it ended up getting put on the back burner, and I highly regret that because I would have definitely have recommended this many years earlier. So if you get a chance to check this out and you like weird esoteric slasher films or just strange movies in general, especially if you wanted Six String Samurai to have a lot more blood and gore plus zombies for some reason and people with trigger happy hatred of special needs people, this movie's for you. Also, a lot of people get shot in the pelvic area in this quite a bit, so there's that too. But a massively high body count at 82. I may have missed a few because it was kind of hard to keep track, and that is probably a record for this channel. You're not looking at scenes where people are getting wiped out en masse and you're having to pause it to count them all. No, it was pretty easy to count, so I tracked 82, but it really did need some nudity in it. Other than that, this movie is pretty flawless for the weird horromedy that it is, and I'm definitely going to recommend it, but again, only for diehard, no-budget fans and fans of weird films. This is definitely not going to be for beginners, and it's going to offend quite a few people, but it's worth a view. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description to various support methods, and as always, we hope to see you on the next one.